Ballz. Fighting at its ballsiest. God, the 90s. Ballz is a fighting game and it's not the best of them. Their claim to fame is that it's 3D, but that fact does not work well in Ballz' favor. It does kind of feel like they discovered 3D effects in development and just went with it. I really need to touch on the visuals first. It's difficult to enjoy the large roster of characters because they're all balls. Even when you look past all the balls, the character designs are kind of bland and uninspired. Clown, caveman, rhino. There's like one woman character that does ballet, has ball boobs, and bites people. What? Sometimes, actually most of the time, it's difficult to tell what the hell is going on. So many balls. Whenever you execute a grapple attack, it's just a cluster of balls. I'm gonna say balls a lot. That comes to my next point. The humor is extremely dated, almost like a bunch of 13-year-olds wrote the jokes. It's not too surprising knowing that the game was released in the 90s and it had an MA13 rating, something you don't see too much nowadays. I'm glad the rating system was simplified, cause I mean, like, why are there ratings in between ratings? Doesn't make sense. There are screens in the background that tell you what's happening, and that's pretty cool. That they program the game to keep up with the action and show you what's going on, make a little joke here and there about it. But also, is that an ass? Why is there butt crack on my screen? Children play this. The special attacks are pretty simple, but unless you have a manual, you won't have much luck executing them because you have to spam attacks to counter your enemy's strategies, or lack thereof. Not to mention, they are pretty convoluted. There are some interesting actions like begging when your health is low so you can recover a few hit points, and taunting raises your attack power. Taunting multiple times will stack your damage, but if they hit you before you hit them, you lose the buff. I think it's great that you are given so many options, but I can't do any of these abilities intentionally.
I can't do it on command.
He can't do it on command, but it is cool.
When I had to fight the same character that I was using, things were really frustrating. It was really frustrating because how can the computer use the character better than I'm using it? Just know, when I finally got the upper hand, things got personal.
What the hell are you doing?
I'm kicking my ass! Do you mind?
There are a few boss fights, but some of them feel way too cheap to enjoy. The first boss is an ostrich and it is cheap. It sticks its head in the ground, allowing it to heal, and every time you land a hit, it's programmed to spam a grab and throw attack. Look at this, it's ridiculous. The best strategy was to jump and just kick it in the head repeatedly. It took me forever to defeat this bastard. Every time you defeat a boss, you reach the next phase in the form of a different color belt. I have no idea what's happening in this scene. Oh yeah, also, the amount of damage received makes no sense. I can hit an opponent 20 times and they barely make a dent, then they'll hit me once and almost take half of my health. Sometimes, the controls will become unresponsive mid-fight and my character will just stop fighting completely. It's just standing there. Even though it's only like a half a second, it still is detrimental in a fighting game where reactions are everything. You will get pummeled with attacks. Speaking of getting pummeled, this kangaroo monkey rat was really giving me a run for my money. One boss I had a lot of fun with was the T-Rex. It was challenging, but it was also enjoyable. I didn't feel like I was being cheated like with the rest of the bosses. Hell, like some of the rest of the opponents too. The final boss is this guy called the Jester. Now that kind of gets on my nerves because we already have a clown. Why do we have a clown and a jester? Aren't they technically almost the same thing? They're both entertainers, they're both goofy. You know, I don't know. Maybe it's just me, maybe I'm tripping. But let me tell you about this Jester. I tapped out before I even got to him. This game is pretty cheap, even for a complete copy. so I'd recommend it because it's fun to mess around with as well as for the laughs. I played this a lot with my brother growing up, and I still mess with it from time to time. I may not love it, but it still is charming in its own way. Now if you'll excuse me, I'm gonna keep playing this until I finally get to the end. Or I'm gonna break the game in half and eat it. Let's find out next episode. If you really need to play a game that has balls, play Vector Man instead on the Sega Genesis.